So hello everybody. In my Winter 365 class, again, what I'm doing is I'm going to make a video here on the slides for chapter 12. Okay, 11 is up there already in about many sections. I want to explain why I do this because if I did many of these have slides that are like 70 or more. And if I do one video for 70 slides, it'll be an hour or so. So I break it up into like bites, little chunks, maybe 20 slides, and then you could watch them in a couple minutes and then go on to the next one. All right. So what I'm going to be doing is maybe about 20 slides here, and then I'll do the next ones. All right. So there'll be part 1, part 2, part 3. All right. So basically, when you talked in 330 or another class about projects that people were doing, you assumed every project, right, had the same level of risk. And that's not true, right? Everything we do in life has got different levels of risk, okay? And risk is not constant for everything. So over here, the important words are we assumed all the projects were equally risky, and the acceptance of one project wouldn't change the overall firm's risk. And that's not true. And every project has its own different amount and version of risk, right? Like when Apple did the one project, like the watch, it wasn't probably, I mean, it did well, but it wasn't, there was some risk with that. And, everything's got different levels of risk. Okay, so here's a simple table. And do you remember net present value? You should review the slides from Business 330. And here's the net present values. Here's different cash flows for two different projects, Project A and Project B. And you'll notice that the initial investment was different for both, right? This one was $3,000 more. And here's the money that comes in from the projects, the cash flows. So what you can see is overall the net present values, they're both positive. If you remember, your goal is a positive net present value, but if they're not, but this one is more positive. So most likely you'll probably want to do this one here. Okay. But this is a simple example. It's only positive by a small amount. All right. So there's a couple terms here, right? There's different behavioral approaches to risk. And in capital budgeting, risk refers to the uncertainty surrounding the cash flows that a project will generate. And I'll put it in my own words. You know what's probably coming, right? Risk is going to be called standard deviation. Everybody remember standard deviation? Well, standard deviation is risk variation, okay? So risk is going to stem from these cash flows that a project will generate. And in this, we'll probably learn how to calculate standard deviation in this course. All right, so here, if you remember, here was the net present value equation, and then you remember as an example, it had to be greater than 0, and I guess I got some stuff coming in here that I should maybe kill the sound on those. So anyway, if you hear those sounds, just try to disregard them. Sorry, I forgot to shut them off. All right, so here's the net present value greater than 0, and here's the cash flows coming in, and here's how you determine the net present value. Good review from when you had 330. All right, so behavioral approaches. So here's how they calculate the net present value with a calculator, right here, financial calculator, if you've got one, and you could also use Excel. And if you have any questions about using these devices, feel free to contact me. All right. All right, so for the projects to be acceptable, they must have annual cash flows of at least $1,315. So the risk of the project can be assessed by determining the probability of the cash flows. So in this example, what's the probability of the cash flows being greater than 1,315? And that's 100%. And over here, it's 65%. All right, so if we go back for a minute, so this is in your book, this problem, and they show you how they go about this. So because project A, so obviously this is certain, right? It's 100%. This is not, so this has got less risk, all right? All right. So scenario analysis is just a couple definitions of different scenarios you can take. And again, you should always read the chapters to back up these videos, all right? All right, so here's different scenario analysis, right? So here's two projects, A and B. Both have the same initial investment, right? And if you don't mind, because it's so early, I'll just take a sip of my coffee. Hello, everybody. All right, and here's the cash flows for both. And here are the net present values as they're calculated for both, all right? So you should be able to get these net present values based on these cash flows. So they tell you 10% cost of capital, 15-year life for the annual cash flows. So if you have any trouble, you should try doing this calculation. And if you have problems, just again, let me know, okay? Always let me know. All right, so some of these we'll just shoot by a little bit. All right, so with regard to international risk, as you know, we're globalized, right? Exchange rate risk is the danger of the value of the dollar versus some other currency changing. And if any of you have done traveling internationally, you know that when it's a good time to travel and when it's not a good time to travel, because exchange rates change, and you can probably make money on exchange rates, right? Right. When the dollar is strong against another currency, you get more of that currency. So you want to travel on a strong dollar. Oh, and of course, let me just go back here for a minute. Political risk. You see what's going on in the markets today, right? There's a lot of political risk in England with Brexit and Russia. So political risk is hard to, and the markets have been taking hits lately, and I've been losing a lot of money. All right, and if you're going to trade or do risk, jobs internationally, you got to worry about taxes in other countries, and basically, they'll charge you of tariffs, as we all see, and the like. All right, so there's another equation, and I will stop here after this slide. Okay, this is net present value, and it's the same exact equation. But all you do is you take the your cost of capital and you add more to it to adjust it for risk. So you have risk-adjusted discount rates, and that's rates of return that must be earned on a project to compensate for how much risk that you're giving on the project. So again, this is net present value as you've always seen it, and all you have here is just a risk-adjusted discount rate. Okay, but it's the same thing. You just pop that in. All right. So this is about 9 minutes long, and I'll stop here. Okay, and this will be part 1, and you'll get part 2 eventually. All right.